Well, hello everybody. I am in a new location. It is #Thursday BookTube. This is an open collaboration that is hosted by myself and my friend at Mountain Home and Kitchen, my Mountain Home and Kitchen. And what we do is it's open to anybody. Anybody can come on and talk about anything they want. But we upload on Thursdays, anytime on Thursdays. Like you can obviously see, it's going to be late in the evening when I upload this. And we just talk about books. You can do any kind of things. You can give a review. You can show a color book. You can show a magazine. You can show a kid's book, cookbook, whatever you want. And what I thought I would show you tonight is that just in this last year, maybe, I think it's just been in 2024, I've started saving the books that I read, and I put them on this bookshelf. And then the rest of the books that I still need to read, my to be read, my TBR shelves, is in the kids' playroom. So I'll show you that on another day, because that is way bigger than this one, believe it or not. But this is just from 2024. So I thought I would show you some of the books in here. I did show you a couple of them that are in here, that I showed you on my top 3 and my worst 2. So I'm not going to show those. And those were Kristen Hanna's and a couple other ones. So I'm not going to show those. But what I thought is I'd just pull some of these other ones out and show them to you. I'm not going to give you big, huge, long book reviews on them. But because most of them, I have done book reviews on. So my couch is really low, and so I sink way down, so I put 2 pillows there. Jenny, get off, please. Get off. Okay, so the first set I want to show you is a series of 3 books that I read, and the first one is Catfish, and these are written by Madeline Bennett Edwards, and it was such an incredible book. This was a 5-star in my opinion, and it is about living in Louisiana, and it starts out in the 60s, I believe. I believe it starts out in 1963. And I can't even imagine, because I was born in 64, but back in the South in 63, they were still very segregated with blacks and whites, and each part of town and who you talked to and what you did. And so this little girl meets this older man, and he calls himself Catfish, and they become good friends, and the whole thing is she becomes part of their family as far as friendship wise and visiting with him. And it's a sad story, because it is based on a true story. It is based on her life as a little girl. This is her as a little girl, so it's based on a true story about her relationship with Catfish. And then comes Lily is the second one, and this is the little girl in the first one, and her daughter Lily in the second book, and about her life and getting pregnant out of wedlock, and her parents almost disowning her. And this is in the 70s, and she ends up putting the baby up for adoption, but she does find the baby, and the adoptive parents let her be a big part of the baby's life. And then the adoptive mother ends up passing away, and the adoptive father still lets her have a big part of the life of Lily. And so they kind of share custody of her, which is really cool. And the third one is Sissy. Now remember, these are all based on the true story of this. And so Sissy is the first one, the little girl's sister. And I don't want to tell you what happens in the first 2, why the third one is based on Sissy, but she does some investigation work for her sister. So this was a great, great series. I loved it. I would recommend it to anybody. You don't have to read all 3, but once you read Catfish, you're going to want to read the second one, and then you're going to want to read the third one. So that is a total thumbs up in my book. The next one I wanted to share with you is Campbell's Boy. Now, this one is a 5-star to me, but it's simply because it's written about the town I live in. And this girl in real life, this is the author, she is adopted, and she traced her roots back to the Campbells that are from our county. And so she came back here to kind of find her roots and about her family. And so this book is about her family, and it starts out in the 40s. And it's a really good story. And it's probably more so of a great story to me because she talks about even all the towns and the people in the town that if they're an old family that's been here for a long time, then they're in this book. So this is a 5-star to me, but it might not be to you guys. You know what I'm saying? Just because it relates to my town. And I think for tonight, I'm just going to wrap it up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more books by one of my most favorite authors. Now, you need to pause right now and go get a pen and a paper or write this down. But my favorite author is, let's start out with the first book she ever wrote. My favorite author is Ellen Marie Wiseman. She has written 8 books. I have followed her, and a friend requested her on Facebook when she had just written just this book. So we've been friends on Facebook for probably 10 years. This was the first book that she ever wrote. It was called The Life She Was Given. And just this book alone, I cannot believe that this being her first book is phenomenal. It was about a little girl. I want to say it was back in the 40s or so. And she was born albino. And her mother was ashamed of her for being an albino. And so she locked her in the basement, basically, and that's where she lived. And the father would go up there and visit her all the time. The mother never wanted anything to do with her because she was, in her mind, a freak. And the father felt bad for her, but he wouldn't stand up for his daughter, and he wouldn't stand up to his wife. And so one day he sold her to the circus as a freak show. But she found love and she found family within the circus. She had a group of people that took her in as one of their family members and loved her for who she was and how she was. And she fell in love with the boy that trained the elephants. And so it was just such a good story. And there's a huge twist at the end that you don't even know is coming. And it's like in the last chapter, and you're just like, what? And anybody who's read this book, I recommend it all the time to people. And they'll say that the book stays with them for a week or so, where they can't even want to read another book because they're so hungover from this book. Then I had all of her books at one time, and I made the mistake of loaning them out to somebody, and they never returned them because long story, but I don't have them. So now I want to buy her whole. She's only written 8 books, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe I'm missing 3, or maybe she's only written 7, and her 8th one is coming out in July. Okay, so this is another one of her books, and it's called What She Left Behind. And another awesome 5. All her books are 5s in my world. And okay, my phone turned off. I ran out of storage. I forgot to delete a bunch of stuff, so I know where I stopped, so I'll just continue on with this one is What She Left Behind. And this girl is, I think, 18 or 19, and her parents are super strict. They never let her out of the house. And she sneaks out one night, and she ends up falling in love with this Spaniard man, this man from Spain. And so she continues to sneak out of the house to meet up with him. And she ends up getting pregnant from him. And then her parents find out, and her dad is a doctor, and they are ashamed of her. Again, I think this is based in the 40s. And they put her in an asylum. And back then, the father could do that. And so It goes on with how she gets treated in there, and how she's trying to get out, and how she's trying to find her boyfriend. She ends up having the baby in there, and I won't tell you what happens to the baby because that's a big part of the story. So another wonderful, wonderful book, What She Left Behind. Okay, then this book, everybody who's read The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna swears that's the best book about World War I or World War II, the ones with Hitler. What was it, dear? Hitler was World War I? Two. Okay. So this was about, so everybody who's read The Nightingale says that's the best book about World War II. I beg to differ. Marie Wiseman has based this story, The Plum Tree, on her grandmother's life coming to America from Germany when Hitler started that big war. Her grandmother was alive.
Hitler
and
was number one.
What's that?
Hitler was number one, I think.
Oh, World War One. I don't know. I'm sorry. Whatever one it was. It's based on that war, and it's the whole thing is about Hitler and the families and what happens to them, and some of them in concentration camps. Some of them make it to America, but I usually say, "Oh, I'm not into history like that," or "I'm not into the war." This is completely different. I mean, it's not different as in it's history. It's real history that she's based into a novel, but it taught me so much. Like, I hated history in school, and now that I read historical fiction all the time, I've learned so much. And this book was amazing about telling you about their journey to America and being locked up in concentration camps and how hard it was on everybody. And Marie Wiseman's books are all very, very heavy, very dark, but very good. And you just want to keep reading. The next book from Ellen Marie Wiseman is The Lost Girls of Willowbrook. And this is based on a true story too. Willowbrook was in Staten Island, New York. And I believe that's where it is, Staten, but it is still there. And it was a mental institution for handicapped and mentally delayed children and adults. And I went on to YouTube and I Googled Willowbrook, and the real stories of the real patients came up in there, and it was amazing. It was horrific. It was horrible. And so, of course, that's what this story is based on, but it is a good story, and it taught me a lot. I never even knew about this. And then after reading this book, I Googled one of the mental institutions in San Jose that my cousin was in the 60s, and I'm sure they treated them there like they treated them at the Willowbrook. It's just, I'm so thankful they don't have places like that anymore. And I'm sure there's still mental hospitals, but they cannot get away with treating the patients like these people used to treat them. And then the last one that I have of Ellen Marie Wiseman physically with me, like I said, I have some others of hers, but I need to finish that collection because it's such a good one. And I've read all these books twice because they're that good. The last one is The Orphan Collector, and that is her most recent book until her new one comes out in June. And this is about a family that lived in Philadelphia, and the Depression hit, and the father went off to find work, and the mother was at home with her kids, and they're living in the city. It's not like they can go grow a garden, and she's trying to make ends meet, and she's trying to even beg for food because she doesn't have anything, and they were going days without food, and they were all getting was it the swine flu? And it was a lot like COVID, where they shut down all the businesses and they made them mask up and had to wear masks, and so many people were dying of it. And it reminded me of COVID a lot, just back in the 40s instead of now. And they ended up, if you couldn't take care of your children, you sent them to orphanages, and they promised you they'd give you your children back when everything, you know, when you got money or whatever, but that wasn't always the case. And so there was a lady that would go around, and they called her the orphan collector, and she was not a good person, and she would claim to be a good person, and people thought she was a good person, but she was not a good person. So all these books are so phenomenal. They're all 5s. So everything I showed you today were 5 stars in my world. And I'll continue to go through my list of books here with you, but I can't do them all in one day. That would take forever. And I don't even have that many books on the shelf, but I don't like to do the 2-hour long videos like some booktubers do, because that's just like, that's too much to ask of you. This is going to be long enough as is. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed my little recap on some of my books, and I will continue to do more. And if you would like to be a part of the collab, just join in and talk about any book you want, or anything to do with books or magazines or color books or whatever you want. And my Mountain Hoping Kitchen will put you on a playlist that she has on her channel, and you can go over there and watch all kinds of different booktuber videos. And so, all right, you guys, have a great evening. This is going to post late on Thursday, but I wanted to get it done. So you guys take care, and I'll talk to you later.